The Big Game, Europe as a Russophobic Binge. The evening talk show, The Big Game on Channel 1, once again acted as a platform for the Kremlin narrative about peace, which Europe is hindering. The main idea of the broadcast on August 20th is simple. Putin and Trump agreed on success in Anchorage, and Europe and Ukraine are preventing this success from being realized. Zelensky's accomplices and an insulted Europe. From the first minutes, the hosts contrast two meetings: the successful negotiations between Putin and Trump and the dubious meeting of European leaders with Zelensky in Washington. The Ukrainian president himself is presented as the Kiev leader, and his European allies are called his accomplices. This language deliberately builds a hierarchy. The United States and Russia are the main players, and Europe and Ukraine are obstacles and appendages. Lavrov as the voice of common sense. The broadcast pays much attention to quotes from Sergei Lavrov. His position is presented as balanced and constructive. Supposedly, the U.S. is beginning to understand the root causes of the crisis, NATO expansion, while the radical position of Europe allegedly does not find understanding in Trump. Macron is presented as the main adventurer, pushing for escalation. Here the technique is obvious: to contrast reasonable Americans and irresponsible Europeans. NATO as a threat to peace. The main message of the program: any security guarantees for Ukraine are automatically equal to militarization and NATO's arrival. The viewer is convinced that the deployment of French or British troops in Ukraine will inevitably lead to a direct clash between Russia and Europe. In essence, the logic of nuclear blackmail is used. Any strengthening of Ukraine equals World War III. Weak Europe as a caricature. The authors dedicated a special part of the program to the humiliation of European armies. The British Army is described as only 70,000 soldiers, unable to defend even its own island. France is ridiculed as a power that shamefully fled Africa. This technique works on the domestic viewer. It creates the illusion that Europe is weak and unable to resist Russia. Back in Alaska, President Putin, who was clearly very satisfied with the outcome of his talks with President Trump, said that he expected Zelensky and his European accomplices of my expression, a non-Russian president, that they would show reasonable moderation and would not try to torpedo all the agreements reached by the United States and Russia. Well, I shouldn't tell you. You are the first deputy chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee. When in interstate relations, they say, we expect this should not be taken literally. It means we hope that you will show a certain prudence. But we no longer hope. We have no reason to hope anymore, because the Europeans perceived what happened in Alaska as a direct challenge to themselves, to their vision of solving the Ukrainian problem and the broader situation with European security. And they behaved, on the one hand, very intelligently. They leafed through Trump. They showed as much as possible how great he is, and that they came simply to support him. Simply to support him. Well, if you look at the details, and details are very important in this business, then, of course, they tried to slip him so-called details that completely turned the agreements reached in Alaska upside down. And now there is a very serious dispute between Moscow, Washington, and the Europeans, together with Kiev, about what kind of agreements there can be if we are talking about a peaceful solution to the Ukrainian problem. Russophobic binge as a diagnosis. In the finale, the presenters declare that Europe is on a Russophobic binge and is risking the existence of its own states. This is the key narrative. Any attempt by Europe to support Ukraine is interpreted not as a defense of international law, but as a self-destructive mania. The goal is obvious: Russian propaganda is trying to undermine trust in Europe as an ally of Ukraine and present transatlantic relations as unstable. The logic is simple. The US and Russia are serious powers capable of reaching an agreement, while Europe is weak, chaotic, and dependent. This is exactly the image that benefits the Kremlin. It justifies aggression and simultaneously plays on disagreements within the West.